Hello, wonderful denizens of Diceland and beyond. Welcome once again to Professional Questers, where I am your host, Chris, and I am obsessed with tabletop role playing games. However, more so than that, I adore hearing about the characters in those games. So I interview folks in the TTRPG universe about the people that they love to play. Joining us today is the magnificent Magpie. Magpie, can you tell us a bit about yourself, what you do, and then tell us who is the person that you play?
No worries. Hi, I'm Magpie. I use she, they pronouns. I am going to be chatting about Altair today, who is my Vampire the Masquerade and Imperium Maledictum character, and he appears in so many other places. I need help. I have been in the TTRPG scene for a while, sort of playing at home games to begin with, and then shifted into the AP space. Oh gosh, about 3 years ago or so now. Yeah. Love generally being a little dice gremlin at the table and causing problems for everyone.
I mean, okay, so small tangent, but being a dice gremlin and causing problems for everyone is such a mood. I just have to say that. That is,
It's like you let me at my table.
I'm not going to call it goals, but I'm going to call it a major mood.
Thank you. It's usually either something gets dropped off the table, I knock something over. What else is there? What else have I done? Or I make deals with gods. Those are my main three.
Yep,
I
that's
need to stop.
honestly though, like making deals with gods, that's like peak roleplay right there.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, we could fight. Or
My one of my current characters is notorious for talking her way out of boss fights.
I love that. I think that should be encouraged, though.
Yeah, honestly, I think TM gets a little disappointed. But like that's kind of what she's built for is like she's not made for diplomacy, but she's got a lot of charisma and she is very empathetic. So she just like talks her way out of all of these situations. It's really funny to me at this point. It's happened like 4 times. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about Altair today. Let's
Yes.
start with the basics. What are Altair's pronouns?
So Altair uses he, him pronouns.
Perfect. And can you give us a physical description of Altair?
Don't worry. So he changes, I say a little bit, he changes quite a bit between both sort of worlds that I play him in. His, I guess, main sort of looks. He is a quite tall, sort of about 6 foot 6'2", um, white guy, very pale complexion. Sort of, I always describe him as having a mohawk of some kind, or
Hmm.
sometimes it's done up into celebrity spike, sometimes it's done up sort of into like a death hawk. He always dyes it black because he is absolutely edgy as hell and proper 80s goth. Very sort of old fashioned, sort of semi steampunk, semi gothic style. Very heavy on the makeup. Um, yeah, I think is his main sort of descriptors. And then for Imperium Maledictum, that didn't quite work. So he's a tech priest, and I've not seen many goth tech priests. So he has again, he's got the hair still straight up at the side, but it is a shock of white, a lot of red robes, and a entirely mechanical left eye.
Oh,
So there's a little bit of a change between them.
love a cyborg boy.
Oh, he is my big old cyborg boy. I love him to pieces.
So, as you mentioned briefly, I know he started in Vampire the Masquerade, but I'm not like super familiar with the system yet. It's on my list. Is
Ooh.
there a class system or like some equivalent that they have, and like what was Altair, or like if he was multiple things, what has he been?
Ooh. So Altair, to roll him even back before tabletop role playing games, was a literary role play character. So I had kind of this
Mm.
squishy base to sort of start with. And I knew from that he didn't really fit with any rules, that he kind of did his own thing, but he did really enjoy acting as though he was very put together in terms of etiquette. So in Vampire the Masquerade, there are sort of clan types. So you have Toreadors that are known for being artsy. You have Ventrus that are known for being business types and leaders, bits and pieces like that. And Altair is what's known as a caitiff. So he has no real clan. They're more sort of, I guess they do their own thing a little bit. But because he likes pretending to be things he's not, he really enjoys basically playing mind games with people. Not for any malicious intent, but just because he sits there and goes, I could do this if I wanted to. I could sit and do this if I really felt like it. Um, so he often pretends to be a Ventru. And he has the whole sort of Camarilla, so the sort of, I guess, in charge folks within Vampire the Masquerade, believing he is a Ventru. He's just cutting about as a caitiff though.
I
So
love that
he's a
so
little bit.
much. Do the like actual Ventrus like dispute that ever, or are they like such a big family that they're like, I don't know who I sired?
So his original sire was from the 1980s, and she was a Malkavian. Um, they had a really good relationship. The whole reason he ended up as a caitiff was just because she got called away, um, sort of by Malkavian business very early on in sort of him being blooded. Um, and then he's just been around that long that people are like, he acts like a Ventru, kind of businesses like a
I might
Ventru.
as well be one.
He's probably a Ventru.
Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. It's maybe a vampire duck.
Yeah. Oh, imagine a Canada goose, but a vampire.
I don't want to do that.
Oh. I think I'd
Oh, you've
definitely
just
die.
incepted a nightmare into my brain.
Oh no! Canada geese are the one thing that give me the heebies. I'm so sorry.
No,
So yeah.
I am just dramatic. So he's currently in Imperium Maledictum. What is he in that universe? Which you said he's a tech priest. What does that entail?
Oh, okay. So I love me as the sort of writer, player, puppet master of this poor man. I love anything that is kind of technical. I love anything a little bit steampunk. So within the, I guess, Warhammer world, there is a group of folks who believe not in the Emperor, who is the sort of, I guess, all powerful god of the Imperium. They believe in a separate entity. It's kind of disputed, but a separate entity called the Omniscience, who is a machine god. And Altair
Oh,
is a follower of this machine god. They believe that the flesh is weak, that the only real like conquest in life is for knowledge. People are kind of just cogs in a machine. So that was his original sort of, I guess, setup and inception into life.
is
Yeah,
that why cyborg?
that's very wise cyborg. It's he started off with at least 3 flesh limbs. He's down to 1
Oh
over the course of
no.
this campaign. Uh what happened? What happened? I'm trying to think what happened. He had 1 metal arm originally. He had 1 metal eye originally, and then we met a Nurgle spawn, which is like a, I guess, disease based demon. So he
Hmm.
ended up losing an arm that way. And then
Oh no.
someone in the party, what was it how he lost his leg? I think he got shot. But that was like early on, I think, if memory serves. And he's the nature of how he runs with that is, oh, okay, it was weak anyway. Let's replace it with something better. And that's his whole sort of, I guess, thought process with it.
That tracks. Yeah. Sounds like something a tech priest would think.
Yeah. But the fun of it is now he's hanging around with a lot of non um sort of tech priests, non sort of like cult mechanicus folks, and he's now going, oh no, like there's a lot about this humanity thing I hadn't considered. Um so he's now having a little bit of a crisis
Oh
about sort of
no.
yes, about how much he's given up, about what he's missed. So I'm having a great time.
Having regrets.
Yes. I love it.
Love making you think.
Yes. Just give me someone to put in a situation. I will have a great time.
So if you can you give us a one sentence summary of his personality?
Oh, little bit misguided, tries to do his best.
We love a guy who tries. Puts in the effort, maybe doesn't execute it the best, but
Yep. Heart's in the right place most of the time. But then the problem is he goes at things 100%. So if he's out of line, he's like 70 miles from where he wanted to go.
oh no. Oh
Yeah. He made a
boyfriendo.
he made an alien cult by accident. Completely by accident.
Ooh, how do you get cult by accident?
So oh my god. So to run him back to sort of like his original sort of like folks in the Mechanicus, he'd been given a task. So he works for the Inquisition. So he works for a completely separate like organization, I guess, if you will. Um
Hmm?
and he'd made like a little kind of under the table deal with his own folks within the Mechanicus of, okay, I'll get Inquisition details for you, but I will pass on anything particularly interesting. Not realizing he was speaking to someone who was a little bit more, I guess, out of line, out of the way. So he provided essentially a medicine, a drug that had been tainted by, I guess, Xenos or like alien technology. Um, Gave the coordinates for somewhere where she could experiment on this, and accidentally made what's called, well, not what's called, he accidentally made a gene stealer cult. They found out where this was all based. Gene stealers were sort of, I guess, extrapolated from the tech that he had, and he went to this research facility, and they were like, "Oh, this is the guy."
Oh no.
So that was a fun one
Oh
to explain
god.
to his boss.
Hey boss. So okay. Don't be mad, but
Yep, I
I
was
may or
still
may not have
so
started an
new.
alien cult.
I didn't mean to.
I swear I'll figure it out. I'll take care of it. You don't have to worry.
They definitely took care of it. The entire station got set on fire. Um,
Oh god.
to be fair, not much like had been left behind to get destroyed anyway. But
Okay,
I was,
okay. Bright sides, I guess. Silver lining.
yeah, I was still very new to Warhammer at the time as well, so I had no idea what was going on. But then sort of the other two in the party, or two of the other folks in the party, are like proper like Warhammer veterans,
Hmm.
and we're like, oh, we can kind of see what she's done. Oh, we can see what she's doing. Oh no. Sort of as everything fell into place. And me and my friend were just skipping in merrily, like, yeah, what could possibly go wrong? Like, this is fine. So I'm so sorry to my GM.
They're all just like, oh no, she's gonna ruin everything.
Yep, she's gonna break it.
Break the game.
Oh, it was great though. It led to some really fun, I think, character progression to sort of see Altair go, okay, right, I can't keep playing two sides. My own people have sort of, I guess, screwed me over. And then his contacts at the Inquisition were like, okay, you fucked up, but you're still very useless to us.
So we're gonna split this next answer up into chunks. It's kind of a big question.
Ooh.
Uh the question itself is what is his story so far? But I know He has a long story.
Just a little
So
bit.
let's start with his backstory. And I kind of want to explore that in the sense of like, did anything from it also change at all from game to game? I imagine probably yes, between Vampire and Imperium, but like even between the vampire coteries and stuff, how did his backstory evolve?
Yeah. Um, so I guess it massively changed between systems. Um, Between the vampire games, I was lucky enough to have a continuity between the first two. Um, so my first ever sort of, I guess, foray into Vampire the Masquerade was over on the Misadventurers League. And Altair started out as a guest bad guy. So his whole shtick was he'd moved around Europe a lot. He'd been changed in the 80s. He had an amazing relationship with his sire. Um, they were kind of a little on again, off again, sort of romance partners. Um, and he ended up in London. Um, More or less was contracted to kill the head of the coterie that he had been sort of set to go and meet. So that was his immediate entrance. It was okay, cool, pretend to be an ally, sneak in. And the GM and I had been sort of plotting and scheming this for a little while, um, to the point where he had snuck his way in, was sat in the same room as Valerian, the sort of head of the coterie at the time.
Mhm.
Valerian took a phone call, put the phone down again, realized Altair wasn't sitting there any longer. Altair was stood behind him, I think with a knife to his throat, if memory serves. And that was his sort of main beginning interaction. I got called every name under the sun. It was great. So that was some of the, I guess, beginnings of me trying to work out Altair's story and who he was. Um, he got added a lot more to as his story rolled on from there, where he'd come from, his past relationships, bits and pieces like that. There were more characters weaved in, I suppose, to his story. Um, and then once my sort of time had finished with the first coterie, I was very lucky to be invited to play a second game over on House of Dreams with a different GM. His story continued from the previous sort of Misadventurers campaign, in that he'd had a little bit too much to do with the Fae. Needs to stop
Oh.
messing around with the Fae. He was always a little bit too creative for his own good, um, and ended up in this massive sort of, I guess, swirling plot line with the Fae in a previous sort of lifetime. So in this one, he was very much kind of coming back from that. He was settling into a coterie that didn't automatically want him dead. Um, the first one did learn to sort of like get along with him, to sort of trust him, because he realized that he'd been screwed over again. But then in the second sort of coterie, it was a little bit gentler. It was, he had his secrets. They didn't know from the beginning that he was a caitiff. They didn't know he was harboring a werewolf at home. Um, he,
What?
yeah. So in the World of Darkness games, there's a few. So there is, Vampire the Masquerade. Oh my god, I have to look at the other titles. It's I think it's like Werewolf the Apocalypse, Changeling the Dreaming. So there's
Oh,
Changelings, which are
okay.
Fae. There's werewolves. So there's like all stories you can tell, depending on what kind of flavor of fun little dude you want to play. And I love the idea that he just settled down with someone who was so opposed to him. So there's Altair, this very well put together, oh gosh, I guess very prim and proper vampire living with a werewolf who would leave so many old like cola and iron brew cans just scattered across the apartment. He would leave like newspapers just piled up at the back. The books were constantly out of order. Ollie wasn't allowed to cook because he would just
Oh,
make
no.
such a mess in the kitchen. Great chef, terrible at tidying. So the coterie didn't know about that. So we got to have this really amazing, I guess, set of moments of these little armor pieces slowly coming off and him getting to go, okay, I've known you long enough to trust you. Here is this. What are you going to do with it? I'm very sorry. See how they would take that. Okay, well, here's another piece. How are you going to take this? And
Oh,
luckily for him, it went really well, or well-ish.
good.
Um, there was one member of the coterie who felt a little bit, um, I guess, lied to, rightly so. A little bit lied to, a little bit sort of like left out of the picture a little bit because these were quite big, I guess, storylines, and a lot of it was pivoted on the fact that Altair was Ventru. He had pull within the Ventru Council, and if anything went wrong with that, and it came out that he was a caitiff, he lost a lot of pull power. So yeah, that was, I guess, some of the history within that one. Um, he got to see a coterie that was a lot more loving, that was a lot more sort of cohesive. So that was a complete change from then sort of implanting himself into the previous one and trying to keep up with different fractures and figuring out what was going on. Um, both very juicy. Very muchly enjoyed both sort of sides of it for different reasons. And then the most recent one was a home game, or sort of yeah, it was a home game. It wasn't streamed, but it was online, and it was a completely different coterie, completely different set of people. And in this one, completely on the fly, we ended up making it so that one of the player characters was Altair's childer. Completely out of the blue, it was amazing. I
Wait,
completely
his
trusted this
what?
player. His childer, so he sired that character.
Oh no!
It was amazing. It all came together so sort of naturally. It was like, okay, well, technically Heather could have been turned sort of recently, like very recently. Um, like who would it make the most sense? Da 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 da. And it was like, hang on a minute. It kind of makes a little bit of sense that Altair could have done this. Um,
Oh my god.
but it worked out so well. I
Juicy.
absolutely It was. I love the player to absolute pieces. Like she is so cool. Who plays Heather? And we ended up with this really nice sort of, again, characters that should not work together. So Altair is this obviously like him, and then Heather was this very strong-willed, very sort of, she knows exactly what she's doing in life, but some of that is completely underneath the veneer of I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, just give me a second while I sort myself out. Very
Mhm.
empathetic, very caring, very human character. And they both get a lot of, um, what's the word? I guess comfort from each other, of Altair knowing that there's still human to be left. And I think Heather knowing that there is someone there to, I guess, lean on if needs be. Um,
I love
and
that.
it ended up really sweet compared to what is in a game that's quite dark and quite sort of I hate my sire, da 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 da. It ended up very comforting, and there was a really lovely dynamic between these two characters that I love it so much.
That sounds beautiful. I love like very dark games are not like my absolute favorite, but I love a game that has darkness in it.
Yeah,
And I love when dark characters with dark themes find light in their stories.
absolutely. I think that was the main sort of thing with these two, and yeah, and major props to the GM as well for letting that happen and for giving us a space where we could kind of press these buttons and see what goes on. So yeah.
Absolutely. So going into his Warhammer campaign then, what has been going on with that? Especially since,
Oh
the major changes that you had to make to him.
yes. So I think I wanted to keep a character that was at the heart still Altair. So if I had to strip him back completely, I had to look at the main components of what makes him as a character. So whenever I normally first start off with Altair as a character, he is very clinical, very cold. He is someone who will read the instruction booklet and read, well, okay, this is X, Y, and Z. Okay, everything I have to do from here going forward is X, Y, and Z. Like, that's sort of how he works. He is, as I said earlier, quite misguided, but his heart's often in the right place. So it made a lot of sense to me to kind of wiggle him in as tech priest, because there is a lot of IKEA instruction bookleting, I guess, with tech priests. It's very well, okay, these are the rules,
Sense.
I'll follow the
That
rules.
makes sense. Tech manuals and
Yeah,
stuff, and you know,
exactly.
tech Bibles.
The same thing. Everyone keeps hold of their toaster instruction booklet in the cult mechanicum. um so yeah, it was a lot of, I guess, wiggling out and working out how he would then progress from there. So I guess similarly, he had a transformation when he was in his sort of youth of starting off as just plain human, not really knowing much about the Mechanicus, and then ending up having a very close brush with them when he was in his youth. And then from then on, absolutely like locking in, focusing in on kind of how they worked, the religion, the inner workings of them. Um, and he was quite, air quotation, boring to begin with. He was your very run of the mill tech priest. It was like, cool, this could go into any Black Library book. Um, and then from there was sort of, I guess, where the campaign begun. He was picked up from his home planet of Mars. So in the Warhammer world, Mars is the kind of home forge of the Imperium.
Okay.
Um, and taken a long, long while away from home to join these people that he knows nothing about for a purpose that he doesn't fully believe in, with people that he doesn't know, and honestly would probably throw them out of the airlock if they annoy him one more time. Oh my god, please stop doing this one thing and leaving a mess near my room. It's He didn't get on well with him to begin with. Um, he had no patience, no real time for them. He was very sort of, I guess, similarly to the vampiric side of him, very separated from his humanity. Um, and now that he's been paired up with people who are a lot more human than him, it's like, oh, okay, there's a reason that we have to behave this way. That then trickles down into him caring a little bit more, which is, well, okay, well, why does he care about this and not about that? And you get to, I guess, interrogate a lot of that again. Um, so a lot of
Yeah,
the early
totally.
campaign Yeah. So a lot of his early campaign was him figuring out his humanity, figuring out, I guess, that there is more outside of what he's known. Um, yeah. So that was definitely a fun one, and this one is a home game, so we've had a long old time to explore this one. I think we hit session 49 last night, so it's nearly been sort of a year straight of gaming with this one. And a lot of me annoying our dear GM in the meantime of going, what do you think would happen if you did this? What do you think would happen if this happened? um, so that's been a lot of completely like rotting section in the back of my brain has just been like Warhammer for the last year plus. Um, so the main campaign that we started off with was Cubicle 7's Harlock trilogy. So you're following a rogue trader, you're following a sort of very, I guess, influential figure around the Imperium, trying to work out what's going on and why, um, with very close connections with another party member of ours who had a familial connection to sort of this Harlock line. Um, so I guess the party rundown is a psyker called Minia. So she is very kind of happy-go-lucky, very sort of new to the world, but in a kind of bright-eyed, let's see what can go on sort of way. We have
Okay.
Decca, who is a Cadian guardsman who is just so done with all of our shit. in the very best way. Very well put together, amazing at sort of really taking the lead on things. And our DM NPC is a sort of scholarly type called Decanter, and she is somehow even more done with our shit. Um, so she really headbutted with Altair to begin with. She couldn't stand him, so she was an academic. She is amazing in her field, and then Altair comes in, and he is very much the same. Um, they both butted heads immediately. They would argue on how the library is organized, sort of on the ship. They would sort of bicker over
Oh
little things,
no.
and now we're leading them down a romance arc. So
Oh. Oh.
it's great. I love it. It's definitely a slow burn,
Enemies to
and it's
lovers.
oh, I love it. It's great because they had this massive sort of fallout when Altair accidentally made the alien cult. For
Oh
good
no.
reason.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
understandable, but also, oh no.
yeah. So there was a lot of sort of like trying to repair the damage that had been done in trust, sort of from there. Um, and then we've now restarted a secondary campaign wherein all of our characters are sort of leveled up within the actual Inquisition. Altair is now an interrogator, so he is next in line to the Inquisitor after
Oh,
taking
wow.
in. Yeah, so we had
Moving up in
another
the world.
NPC. He is, and he's terrified. He does not like heights. So he's sort of staring down from this pair of shoes that he like absolutely inherited and did not want, but he didn't want to leave them empty for somebody else to fill. So he's just like most of the time. Um, yeah. And we're sort of seeing how that goes, and he's definitely getting to chat a little bit more and break out a little bit more, and is trying to fight between need to do the right thing for the Imperium and trying to exercise his new findings of humanity. And sometimes he makes the right call, and sometimes he's a little bit of a doofus. So
No. No, not a doofus.
he's the Emperor's silliest goose at this point.
You know what? I stand it. I support it.
Oh
I'm
no.
here for it. Silly Goose has got to stick together.
We do. We do.
So we're gonna dig a little deeper now. Starting with what are Altair's goals, especially ones that he has maintained like across the games.
Ooh. I think a lot of it has been finding family. Not to be so like AO3 tropey about this. His main
Do
thing
it.
has always been I love it. It's always been he's started as this like lone figure. And it's always either find a coterie to settle down with, find people who will stick around despite X, Y, and Z. Um, and that has very much turned into his long term goal a lot of the time. Like in Imperium Maledictum, there is a like goals section, and I think one of his first ones was to settle down and create a friend group, or not a friend group, but like a cadre, sort of like a group of people that he could sort of trust instinctually. And then the
Mhm.
same for Vampire the Masquerade as well. It was find a coterie to settle down with, or in the first instance, try and like toddler leash the rest of the coterie together. So, because he knew he had to leave them, it's like, right, the best thing I can do is like, if I knot the ends of them all together, they can't get away from each other.
We love a man who's the social glue.
I think less of social glue and more of just if I annoy them that much, maybe they might band together against me.
You know, there's different kinds of glue.
Yeah, true, true. He's the glitter glue. Sorry.
But they don't sparkle in Vampire the Masquerade.
No! I hate this!
Oh
Oh.
my god.
this
I'm
is it.
sorry,
But
I had to.
we can put Edward Cullen down not sparkling because he's a vampire, but because he's just rolled himself in Elmer's glue. Oh my
Oh my god, please. Get
god.
like
This is the skin of a
a
killer.
this, this, oh,
You could
I
just
had a
peel
really
it off in pieces.
yep, I was literally thinking that exact thing. Like when you're a
Oh
kid,
my god.
you put the glue on your hand and then peel it off.
Yeah. I think that's probably why he's got really good skin as a vampire. Just keeps the hydration. It's like an occlusive layer.
The hydration and the exfoliation, man. You gotta keep up with that.
Oh. Legally, I don't endorse Elmer's glue as skincare, but like for the
Neither
goblin
do I.
tactics.
We here at Professional Questers only endorse officially licensed skincare products.
It's totally legit.
Recommended for skin, specifically.
Yes, don't do anything
Don't
that
put
could.
glue on your face, kids.
Don't get it in your eyebrows.
No,
Totally not
oh
speaking from
god.
experience.
Ugh. So,
Sorry.
all of that being said, um,
Yes.
do the changing settings of each game affect what kinds of things that he fears?
Ooh.
Because with goals often come fears, and vice
Yeah.
versa. So I think logically, that's the word that I'm looking for. If his goals stay the same, are there fears that stay the same? And counter to that, if some of his goals change, did that change some of his fears?
I think you've more or less hit the nail on the head. I think because the goals are often the same, he very much fears the same things, but in slightly different fonts. So I think in sort of like the vampire setting, it is very much a okay, these people depend on me. I can't let them down. I think that's more of his sort of mindset. Whereas in Imperium Maledictum, it's a little bit more of there's a legacy to protect. So he's
Okay.
taken over sort of the role of someone he is very, or he looked up to quite greatly. They nearly killed each other multiple times, but respected at least. Um, and he doesn't want to let that legacy down, but also he knows that if something happens to him, he's very easily replaceable. The other two can look after themselves quite well. So there's less of a, I don't know, there's less of like a familial sort of aspect, and it's more of a, I don't want to fuck up because I don't want these two to get put in danger because of me. I think in the Warhammer world, so
Okay, so
similar but
it's like
slightly different fonts.
a sense of responsibility across the worlds, but not necessarily for the same reasons.
Yes, I think very much so.
I can respect that. I know you said that you gave Altair OCD as a way of interrogating it as I believe in your application you said interrogating it as an external factor under totally different circumstances to yourself. How did that go for you?
Yes, I think it's been really interesting to sort of look into. So I have OCD myself as a player, and it's something that I'd kind of, I guess, dealt with for a very, very long time. And as much as you try and fix it, it doesn't always fix. It's always there in the background in
Mm-hmm.
some form or another.
Yep.
Um, a- and you see a lot of representation of it as, oh no, like I have to have this one thing done exactly this one way, or else I get really mad at it. Sort of in media, or it's portrayed as, you know, the germaphobe. It's not often done as a, oh, this is how my brain works sort of way. You don't
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of accurate representation of it in media. Um,
Absolutely
and I
not.
really, yeah, and I really wanted to play around with that, and I guess look at it through a different lens, but with some of the experience in the background. So with Altair, for example, a lot of it is based on his worries of not letting people down. It is based on his worries of protecting people. So a lot of the time he is cleanly, but not because of, oh, my house needs to be tidy. It is, okay, I've got a long life, I've got an unlife. If I bring in germs from the outside and I leave them in the house with someone who is mortal, okay, I'm going to get them sick and that's going to kill them. Even though
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily a, oh, what's the word? Even though it's not a logical sort of reasoning with him, he knows it doesn't make sense. It's still something that has occurred to him. And I think it's something that's quite fun to play around with, to sort of see how it would work in different settings almost.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I guess from the exterior, you can then start breaking that down and playing around with it. There's a lot of sort of cyclic aspects to him. So I think it's Malkavians, I think, can hear sort of like the inner brain workings of other Malkavians. So it's been very much had in the past where someone will try and sort of peek into what's going on, and it's just things are running in cycles in his head constantly to make sure things stay going correctly. It's
Mm-hmm.
if he's heard sort of, I don't know, about car crash. If he hears the word car crash, he will think, okay, safety, 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 to make sure that that doesn't happen. It's a lot of people
Yeah.
reading into that. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fun, sort of, I guess, working into that and working into how it sort of affects him, and especially as a not human. It's then,
That is
okay,
a
well,
really interesting angle to explore it from, to the not human side of it, because when you deal with OCD in an immortal sense, there's that whole new realm of like you have to consider how things affect you in so much more of a long-term time frame, and how your long-term
yes.
time frame can affect someone else's short-term time frame, right?
Yes. So I think a lot of his sort of fussing is a lot of, I want to say, rumination, because he's had a long time to live, whereas
Mm-hmm.
he's sharing his space with with a lot of people that comparatively don't. So he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to be, air quotation, responsible for shortening that, changing that, making a mess of that. Um,
Absolutely.
so yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's that the loop thinking and the irrationality of the way that you are perceiving everything that's going on. I have struggled with OCD as well, so I I totally understand like what you're saying, and it's, you know, it really is a genuine struggle, and people really don't get that it's not always something that is a tangible kind of thing that you're averse to.
yep,
It can very much be like the concept of, it can be a concept or a something that your brain completely makes up, but that you
yep,
it worms into your brain, and you're like, well, great, now this is happening and I'm thinking irrationally, and I know I'm
yep.
thinking irrationally, but my
But I
irrational
can't
brain
stop.
is compelling me to act on this.
Yep. I think I think as well with a lot of long lifers, I feel like morality would be a massive one.
Oh
I think
yes.
one thing that does not get dealt with a lot in sort of OCD representation is the moral side of it. It's,
Hmm.
oh my god, I've had this intrusive thought. That means I'm a terrible person. It's not, okay, my brain's thinking this because it knows it's the worst thing that I can think.
Hmm.
It's, no, no, my brain's thought this terrible thing, so that must mean I'm a terrible person. It's like, no.
When you've had
So
OCD for a
it's,
long time and you understand how it works,
yeah,
you can process it better and think more in a more removed way. It does not get rid of your OCD, but it allows you to handle it in a less distressing way.
yes. There was, so I've had so many, like, I say weird and wonderful. I've had like a few different kinds of therapy to deal with this. I've had medication for it. And the one thing that has helped that is so silly is I saw a post from someone else who had OCD. And it was more or less a, I think, medieval painting of a devil trying to show someone who was like brushing their hair in a mirror sort of their asshole. And it's so I, to explain it a little bit. So like I
No,
guess
no,
like
sorry,
if
I didn't
somebody
mean to like.
has no, it's I didn't take it as that. It's I feel like if someone has like anxiety, you can name anxiety. If someone has sort of like fear or depression, you can name it. Whereas with OCD, it's like it's not really got a name. Like you can't be like, oh, like this
Mhm.
thing's trying to protect me. It's like, no, I've just got someone off on like like vodka Red Bulls on a party trying to tell me what to do. And then this one post was like, oh, like that devil is OCD. I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. It's more or less trying to trick you to looking into its bumhole while you're brushing your hair.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's like a really silly sort of mentality, but it works.
It wants to drive you down the weirdest, worst path, and you're like, why? And like rationally, you're like, I shouldn't be looking at this bumhole, but here we
Yeah,
are.
this little devil's tricked me.
God damn it. Here we are again, staring into the abyss, but
Yeah, so I think it was one thing I definitely wanted to, I think, play around with. I think with Altair.
I think that's brilliant and really, really insightful and extrapolating on, you know, how to it's a very good process for exploring things within roleplay and tabletop games of
Yeah.
identifying what you want to look into, and especially if it's something that you are familiar with in your own self but maybe want to externalize or internalize or see from a new perspective, and then you work with yourself, and then you can also work with others too, to just feel around in the space. And what's great is that role playing games are often a very safe space to do that when you have the right people and the right environment. And there are always horror stories of people being at really bad tables, but for the most part,
Mm,
I think the TTRPG community really prides itself on being a safe space. So,
yeah.
you know, not to be a hashtag not all TTRPG players, but it's very much like, you know, we are here to help each other and lift each other up. And it's really annoying that there are people out there who bring that down, but I think every community is also like that. So you
Yeah.
got to take the falls with the rises and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said about the rise of safety tools. I think a lot of people will say,
Absolutely.
so many people will say, well, it reduces what I can do. Like, it makes it so I can't be like as horrific in my horror games. I did 10 candles recently with a set of amazing players and some very sort of like well done safety tools. Massive props to Euphoria AP for that one. Um, and the amount of times we'd be kind of like, okay, 1 second, let me just check the safety tools. I'm going to do something absolutely horrific, but let me check the safety tools. And it lets you go to the sort of end degree, know that everyone at your table is going to be safe. Everyone at your
Hmm.
table is still going to be having a good time, but they can sit there and go, oh my God, what are you doing? What the hell? In a
Hmm.
safe way. It lets you
Yeah,
go even further. So,
I think
yeah.
horror stuff like that is based on what the audience finds horrible, not what the game runner finds horrible. In a way, like if you want to horrify your table, don't base it on what you find horrifying. Base it on what they find horrifying,
Yeah. But make it
and
so
that's
that they're not going to leave the table.
exactly. So like one person's scale is different from another person's scale. But if you stay within all of the scales and hit, you know, almost the top of each scale, but don't go over any of them, you're still scaring the pants off of everybody and achieving your goal.
Yes. And everyone's having fun being terrified.
Exactly. Exactly, which is why safety tools are so important to sort of stress that you can have a good time and still respect everyone.
Yes. Which should be the baseline, to be fair.
Yeah, it really should. It's a shame that it hasn't been, and
Yeah,
it's great that it is coming into the space now as opposed to like never.
massively. Yeah, it's good to see.
Mhm.
It's just nice to see people looking after each other as well. To get really sort of
Right?
gooey for a second.
No, get gooey, man. Gosh.
Like I love sort of seeing check-ins. Like it sounds really daft to sort of say, but it's so nice just to sort of say, oh, I like to see people at tables going like, is this okay with everyone? Can I check before I do this? Rather than just sort of going in for the shock factor. Like
Mhm.
you're still going to give someone the heebie-jeebies, but
Yeah.
you know you're doing it in a good way, and it's a lot of sort of empathy to see at a table to go,
Yeah.
hang on a minute, I'm going to take us out of the flow, but for good reason. It's
Mhm.
yeah, I like it. It's nice to see.
It is. I totally agree. So, did this OCD become something that Altair could better cope with the longer that you explored it? Because the struggle, I think, is
Ooh,
always there, but it's just a matter of like
yes.
learning the right ways to deal with it.
I think it's something that he's never actively sort of looked into. I think over the course of at least his vampire games, at least it's something that you see, excuse me, like picking up when he is stressed. It is something that you see sort of chilling out a little bit more when things are okay. Um, yeah, I'd say it's more cyclic for that. When it comes to sort of the Warhammer side of things, he's definitely gotten a lot better with managing things and a lot better with how he perceives the world. There's a lot less of the if I do X, this is going to lead to Y. It's a lot
Okay.
more. I don't know how to word it. It's a lot more logical. He's boiled it down to the more logical to him, not logical to everyone else, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. It's if I do this one thing or if I don't know, sort of forget to do something, this will then occur. But they're ones that make sense to him and he can see a very cause to effect linear process to them rather than the more kind of out there ones. Um,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
It's sort of a system of operation, I guess, sort of a user interface for him that works. And I guess one way to compare it is, the the Android UI versus the Apple UI, where like some people do not get one or the other, but the other one makes complete sense to them. And if you want to extrapolate that, everyone has their own UI.
Yeah.
So Altair has found his ideal UI, and it may be very much less like many other people's UI, but it works for him.
Yeah. And he's very lucky in the fact that the rest of the party just sort of accepts it and have sort of gone, okay, this is just an altairism. Like this is just what he's like a lot of the time. And it's I guess to go sort of semi into that and semi almost into like a neurodivergent sort of tangent. It's
Please
fun
do.
seeing how he interacts with different people. Um, so I'd say that Altair comes across as very autistic, especially as the sort of tech priest side. It's something again that I deal with, and he got like a little bit of it. I feel like it's very rampant in tech priests, but he definitely got
Can
a
I
bit of it
say
as
I
well.
wasn't sure if I should like bring that up, but he was kind of giving me like neurodivergence, autistic
Yes.
kind of vibes, and I wasn't sure how to approach that without sounding
Oh no, go
weird.
nuts.
I don't want to say sounding offensive because autism should not be something that's offensive. Um but like I don't we haven't discussed this prior, so I don't know how you were going to feel
Yeah.
about it or anything, but like
Yeah.
I'm right there with you with that assessment of like that very clinical, like, you know, I, If I had to guess, is Altair very bad at task switching?
Yes. So the amount of oh my god, the amount of times he has sat and just started chatting about something, even last night in game, um, the amount of technobabble I have had to learn how to do just to speak as this man for as long as I can. They were discussing the filtration system on a cargo 8, which is like a vehicle in the Warhammer world.
Mm.
And the amount of times we've had to like fade to black, but on Altair yapping with people about the interior like aspects of a cargo 8 or of like an Arvis lander. It's like he just doesn't shut up. But then it's very sweet in that the other two members of the other three members of the party um just kind of accept it. Two of them will just switch off and be like, you know what, he'll finish soon enough. He
Mhm.
will yap himself out soon enough. And then Decanter, who is also quite neurodivergent coded, um, they both yap a lot. They don't shut up. They have these whole debates for like hours long over linguistics of things.
Mhm.
Um, and they both trust each other enough to get things done to a level that they're both happy with, because they
Mhm.
both have these very clear boundaries of, okay, this is the system criteria, or this is the this is what exactly what we need to do, this is how you need to achieve it. um he almost works like a flowchart. Like they're both very sort of simplistic in that manner, and it's nice to see in game as much as it happens in real life. I guess the neurodivergent to neurodivergent versus neurodivergent to neurotypical communication paths.
Mhm.
Um, Again, that happened by accident. I didn't go into this thinking, oh yeah, Altair's going to be autistic. Um, it happened, funny enough, with the vampire version. He would get very overwhelmed very quickly with sort of outside inputs. He didn't like noise unless it was something that he had his own control over. Um, Smells were a massive thing that he couldn't handle. So he would always have a roller of lavender or something in his pocket to put underneath his nose, um, just as sort of like a something to make everything one smell, or something to
Yeah.
make everything one sort of baseline
Mhm.
for himself. And the more
Very
I was playing
relatable.
him, it was yeah. And the more I was playing, it was like, why is that something I would do? Or why is that something that I would associate with, this like diagnosis? It's like, oh shit, I've made him autistic. I'd more or less made him with a lot of characteristics that I relate to without realizing it. And he just decided not to tell me until like really last minute. And then it was like, oh, that makes sense why he does this. Because sometimes I'm in control of him, and sometimes he just fucking ratatouilles the reins and goes for it. So it's like, why are you doing this way? Why does this make the most sense? It's like, oh, okay, that's why. And I think when that sank in, it was very much it was easy to play him almost. It was, okay, this is why he does this. This is why he's like that. So, yeah.
When that click happens and you're like, "Oh, oh.
I did it again.
God damn it." But okay, let's go with it.
Yeah. But it definitely works with the tech priest side of him. The vampire one was the surprise. The tech priest was so not a surprise.
But then you'd realize.
Yeah, it was like, you know what? This tracks. This is why he's a tech priest.
Mhm. So, did you like okay, so jumping off of I am not calling OCD and neurodivergence a flaw. Some neurotypicals might see it like that. Um, got my eye on you, neurotypicals. Um, but um, with something as complicated as a quote unquote flaw, um, did you design Altair with anything that you consider a flaw, or like did they come about organically or both? And like for the ones that you purposely put into him, like what was the reasoning behind that?
Ooh, so I think to call it a flaw to begin with, he was a massively stubborn ass. Like that was the flaw, and there was no reasoning behind it. It was like, yeah, he's just gonna be stubborn as hell. Um, and it was fun because he was my first real character that I wasn't sort of well, I didn't start off with empathizing with quite a lot. A lot of my characters previously had been quite nice. They'd been quite polite. They'd been very sort of friendly characters. And then Altair was the first one where I'd gone, okay, cool. I'm gonna make someone, completely kind of out of the way for a tabletop game. Because I don't like verbalizing being mean a lot of the time, but then with Altair it was like, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. Um and I think the stubbornness was the first one where it was like, okay, we can start off with this. Um Mostly because prior to this, I would have just got into it and gone, yeah, yeah, like I'll do all of these plans that like everyone else wants to do, and it's like, oh no, like I'm gonna rub my hands together like a little fly and say no, just to see what happens. Um, I read it ages ago, and it's like the one thing that like sits in my brain is just like
No,
rubbing my hands together like a
it's
fly.
so correct. It's so correct.
And so the home game we play without cameras, and the amount of times I do just random shit in the background, like gestures, like little like raccoon motions. It's like, what is
Hmm.
she doing? Like, why are they like this? Um, but yeah, I think the stubbornness was the main flaw, and then yeah, I think sort of from beyond that, a lot of him was him just not having an awareness of the world that he was in. Um, Especially in the Warhammer one, it worked really well. So when we first started playing, I had never read any of the Warhammer books. I had never played the game. I had no sort of like background history with it whatsoever. Um, so I was like, cool, I'll make someone who I only need to know just about this one thing, and then I can learn the rest as we go. So it worked in my favor in that Altair had no understanding of the Imperium at large because I had no idea. Um, so it meant that I could be really lazy on prep. And then it meant that I think that's why I like him so much is because we learned at the same rates. And I mean, I'm completely down the Warhammer. What's the word? Like rabbit
Rabbit
hole.
hole.
Like I've got his full axe tattooed on.
Wow.
So that was after we finished the first campaign. It was like, okay, I'm going to get an omniscient axe tattooed to go with my sting from The Hobbit. Um,
Yes.
so it's a little bit of a brain rot, just tiny bit.
A little bit.
just a little bit. We don't discuss how much I spent on commissions of Altair. Besides the point. um, yeah. So it kind of really helped me in giving him that flaw in that we could learn together. I think was a good one.
Cool. I want to know now, though, now that we've talked about his journeys and his, some of his design and stuff, what was the initial like brain spark, the genesis of Altair?
Ooh. So to go back to the right beginning, I used to write a lot when I was in high school. So from ages 11 to 16 in the UK. Um, I was very edgy. I loved the idea of making a goth because I was a little steampunk like cogling at the time, and it was like, well,
Hell
I'm gonna make a
yeah.
romantic goth. That's kind of the same. They're not. I please don't like shoot me from a rooftop in the night. Like there's
Don't
a lot
at
of
me.
yeah, please don't come and get me. They're very different. I know they are. But at the time, it was like yeah, they're kind of similar. And I really wanted to make I guess like a gothic hitman style character, and he was very edgy at the time. He was very sort of like everyone hates me, da 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 da, like classic like
Oh God.
12-year-old character
Hot Topic
making.
kid.
Absolutely. I kept a lot of that now just for the shits and giggles. So I hit the sort of like late teens, early 20s stage of no, I'm gonna make him a serious character. Like he's gonna be like proper and put together.
Mhm.
Now he drives a modded out V8 like engined hearse with halo lights. It's the circle of girlhood, I think, is having a really edgy character, making them really serious again. So like you can like seem like a cool kid and then going like, no, 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 like you're back here again, buddy. Um that
And
very
you
much
realize
happened
that the
with him.
world, like, just doesn't give a shit, and you're like, "Oh, actually, I
Yep,
can do whatever the fuck I want."
exactly. So I sort of didn't do anything with him for a long, long time and then started writing again sort of in the last 9 no, less than that. 7 or so years, like properly getting into my writing.
Mhm.
And then when I could start playing the tabletop games, it was like, well, what can I do? Like, what can I write? Like, what character can I make? And then I found my old sort of stuff for Altair, and it was like, okay, I can rework his original concept. I can make
You
this
can
like
make him better.
exactly, and especially with something like Vampire the Masquerade, yeah, you could go wild. It was great. And it was encouraged to make the most sort of out there characters you could. So it was like, sweet, okay, this guy's pretending to be a Ventrue. He's going to have the flashiest car in all of London. Not because it's
Hell yeah.
expensive, not because it's like, a particularly like good car. It's just something that he modded the absolute like heck out of. Um, Decided to make edgy as all hell. I love it. I think it's great. Um, yeah, like let's make his design something completely out there. So it is very formal, it's very businessy, but it's definitely goth. It's kind of corporate goth, but still with all the sort of like really heavy makeup, the heavy hair, a lot of sort of tattoos going on. Um, so I think that was sort of the new genesis was let's just be an edgy like 12-year-old again. Shake him around in lava lamp for a while and just set him out into the world. And yeah, I had a great time getting to, I guess, pick him back up again and really sort of interrogate and kind of press all the little buttons.
Nice. And since you first debuted him in Vampire the Masquerade, and I'm not super familiar with it, like I said, at the moment, don't come for me, audience. I will get there. um, I kind of want to discuss the mechanics a bit because, um, like there are certain abilities I believe from watching some of the videos that you sent me, that like vampires can pick up and stuff.
Mhm.
Did you, or rather, what were some of the things that Altair could do, and like how many of those were key to his character within the games?
Cool. So I think with the vampire side of things, I wasn't really sure sort of who I wanted him to be. The only one I wanted sort of like as a certain was that he was quite graceful. Um, so quite sort of very like put together and sure of himself. And there's a feat, oh gosh, called Celerity that underneath it has a feat called Cat's Grace. So that was his main one. So it was that you can balance really easily on things. You can sort of move quite stealthily, um, depending on how you interpret the rule book. So that was the main one. And then when it comes to his actual sort of stats, you have dots that you sort of separate between things. And I think they cost more to buy with XP as a caitiff because you have no sort of like clan special. What's the word?
Got
Specialities. There
you.
we go.
Yeah.
I have his character sheet here. Hold on, so I can see exactly what he has. Um, so yeah, he's very I guess like well put together, as I said like, earlier. He's very sort of like prim and proper. So he has sort of like some of his highest stats in composure and resolve, but then also he's a little bit of a scary dude. He tries to make himself scary, so he has sort of like a higher sort of level in intimidation versus I guess maybe things like his dexterity. His stamina's not great. His charisma's okay, but he would prefer to go into something all guns blazing, um, or sort of trying to snake his way around into a situation than just being nice about it, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
and also,
Yeah.
he was so squishy, so he has a fortitude feat to give him a little bit of extra help. I don't remember how it happened, but he was so squidgy when I first made him. It was like, no, no, no. You need a lot more health. But then he has enough willpower to sink a battleship. So, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I love looking back at like a past character's sheet and going, the fuck was I thinking?
Oh my!
Or like,
So
what happened there?
when I first started like tabletop gaming, I didn't know how to build a character sheet very well. And the amount of times I would go into something and try and be intimidating. This is why I always played nice characters. I'd try and go into something intimidating, and they'd be like, "Well, can you roll an intimidation check?" And it's like, that's probably not a good thing for me to do right now. So let's not do that. Um, so that has been a skill over the last few couple of years, learning how to properly build a character that will do what I want him to do.
Hmm.
And I think with Altair, that was one of the ones that I really kind of finally started getting the buttons right on.
That's really funny to me because my longest running D&D character right now, she was built to be this like, and she still is. She's a very scary girl to outsiders, but
Ooh.
um she's a very sad girl too. But she I'll tell you about her later.
I was gonna say I need more on this.
um oh, she's a whole thing. But what I was going to say is that I um I made intimidation one of her like proficiencies because I was like, yeah, she's gonna be all
Oh.
scary and like terrify people and like be really good at interrogating people. I think I used it twice.
Oh no.
So the next question then moving on is that more from just concept then, as we talked about, his inception and everything, to gameplay. How did Altair change and evolve over the course of the multiple games that he's been a part of?
Ooh. So I think the main one with the vampire side was I know I keep saying it, but was his humanity. So he went from kind of this character who would go straight into things with a fight. He would do what he was told just because he'd been told to do it. To someone who would build ridiculously complex stories against sort of like the sort of leaders of the world. Well, not leaders of the world, but like leaders of the um sort of like local areas, just to make things a little bit easier for his childer.
Mhm,
Um, so I think he found a lot of, I guess, grace and a lot of ways and means of working within the world. Um, I think I haven't really interrogated that side of Altair as much, the vampire side of things, because it's always been sort of short form APs. So it was very much okay. We start here, we finish here. We start here, we finish here. And I know at least one or two of them have got plans to go ahead, to go forward. So I'm excited to kind of get my little teeth into him even
mm,
further. Um,
nice.
I know, I love it. I love it when doors get left open.
Mhm.
And there are, I think, at least sort of two wherein it's like, this could go ahead even further. And it's like, wonderful, let me in. I'm sat at the doorway already.
Yes. Let me in.
um,
Let me in.
yes. And then I think for I call it the Friday game because we always play on a Friday. My home group with Warhammer Altair, he almost went the opposite way a little bit. So he was never meant to be sort of the fighter. He was never meant to be the one that gets involved with things. He was never meant to be the talker. He was just the tech guy for all intents and purposes. He was part of the cadre because he knew tech very well. Because he was very, I guess, put together in terms of, I guess, knowing the background on a lot of things. He wasn't very social. He wasn't very sort of fighty. He was just sort of the very much support. Nowadays, he has a ridiculously high brawling ability.
Oh
So
wow.
in Imperium Maledictum, the more augmetics you get, the stronger you get. And then Altair has a feat called the Flesh is Weak, which means he can take double the amount of augmetics you would normally be allowed.
Oh wow.
With him having 3 metal limbs, and it's called a mechadendrite. So do you like Doc Ock arms a little bit?
Wow, okay.
He's got one of those. So he is ridiculously strong when it comes to fighting. He can't shoot to save his life. He has like this amazing bolt pistol that he picked up from himself in the future already dead, but that's a whole different trauma for him.
Hey,
Um
we'll
our
just let
GM
that
loves
one
to just
lie.
yeah, the GM loves to just like throw little things in. Like we've known each other for I think about 5 years now, so like we all kind of know how our I guess like how we like to tell stories, and apparently mine
Mhm.
is just completely like put this guy in a blender with Altair. um, this poor guy, he's on a merry-go-round, but it's sharp.
Oh
So
no. That is what a blender is, isn't it? It's a sharp merry-go-round.
very pointy merry-go-round. um, so yeah, like a lot of it has been so. I think one of the biggest, what's the words, sort of examples I have of that is right at the beginning of the first campaign or like the first story arc we had with the Warhammer crew as Altair. He got used as a pit fighter. So kind of as like a cover story. He got his ass absolutely kicked 1-1. And he has not let that live down himself.
Oh
He was
no.
very so disappointed with himself in it. Um, in a recent sort of fight, he took down, I think it was 4 or 5 cultists solo after our psyker accidentally blinked out of existence. Don't mess with
Wow.
what magic, kids. Um,
Ooh.
so he's definitely sort of changed his abilities from sort of being a kind of backliner and not wanting to get involved into I have a big axe, let me at them. Um, is kind of his, I guess, way of working. And then in terms of talking, he was very much a backseater. He would let the other two kind of chat to people. He would sort of observe. He would sort of watch, but was never the most, I guess, social or the most sort of is it amiable? Yeah, amiable, amicable. I forget the word. The most friendly when it came to trying to get sort of like dealings with people. Um, since he took on the interrogator role, he's sort of been kind of scooted to the front a little bit more. It's like, no, Walter, like this is your job. Like, go and speak to people. Um, and it's been really rewarding watching him going from, as I say, like this backliner who doesn't really want to do a whole lot, who kind of would leave everything to sort of other people and would kind of go with the motions, to a little bit of a force of nature. He knows how to fight. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to get sort of his way around in the Imperium. Um, and I think that's why I've really latched onto specifically this side of him, um, because there is a lot to explore, and you can see sort of like the linear progression of there to there. Well, it's not linear, but at least the progression from here to
Mm.
here. And it's been, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been very rewarding getting to sort of do all of this and kind of look back on it. And yeah,
Well, that's so great to hear. And speaking of latching on, then, like, you've told me that you absolutely fell in love with Altair, which, is clear from his inclusion in at least 4 games now. Um,
yeah.
what is it specifically, like in so many words, about Altair that sparks such a passion for him in you?
I think I think to begin with, it was the fact that he was so different from every other character that I'd had, sort of tabletop wise. Um, I think was the beginning, and it was interesting, kind of not only for him to learn how to do a lot more of this, for me in the background. So the reason Altair wasn't much of a chatty type was because I struggle a lot sometimes to take the lead. I struggle a lot in terms of making decisions, so I would let other people do it anyway. Um, and then now that he's being given partially the opportunity, partially being scooted to the front, it's like, oh, I get to learn how to do this now. Um, and also as well, I love me a tragic character, and I love me a cyborg.
Yeah.
So it,
Yeah.
I fell very much into my own grave with that one. Um, I made my own type. It's
I
a
just
problem.
I I'm imagining you know that meme of the guy who's like striking the pose in front of the grave with like the peace sign. Um and
Yeah.
it's just it's you're in the grave and Altair is striking the pose.
That's exactly what happened. But the worst part is my partner is massively the kind of person. They love a character with a tragic backstory. They are obsessed with the Winter Soldier, if that gives you a sort of
Yeah.
level of what we're dealing with here. Um, they're not into Warhammer whatsoever, but absolutely loves Altair. So it's a problem if I'm going sort of slightly feral and then my partner gets involved as well, and we're just like two little goblins like ping ponging a brain cell around.
Fun. That's a great way to put it.
Like, this is all it is. Like, I will
Yeah.
send them like updates of what's going on in the game, and it's like, well, this happened, and they're like, go on, husband. It's a lot of this just going on in the background. So yeah, I mm, I think that's the problem with Altair. Positive connotation.
I would say problem.
Problem
Problem.
affectionate.
Problem affectionate. Yes.
I think, oh, what was it as well recently? I got a commission of him done. And someone commented underneath it, like, oh, like he's a little bit too pretty to be a tech priest. And it's like, yeah, that's the point. That's the fun of it. That's I'm over here having a great time. And like the artist sort of like defended him as well. And like the artist is freaking amazing and so sweet, and also massively getting into the Warhammer verse as well. Um, and it was like, no, like I don't take offense at this. Like he's a horror show when he wants to be, but then part of his sort of, I guess, manipulation is that he does kind of use his face sometimes. So yeah,
Yeah. You got it. Use it.
just just a little bit.
A little bit.
Just a tiny bit. And if not, giant metal arms.
When in doubt, giant metal arms.
I wish I had that.
So across all of his journeys, what is your favorite story of him, or one that stands out the most?
Oh, I'm trying to think. Because I think there's been lots and lots that have kind of all had their own sort of little, I guess, bits and pieces with them. I'm thinking. I think to go back to the Warhammer one again is I'd had sort of running in the background a storyline wherein I have it that he has a data memory of his mechanical memory, and he has his own sort of meat brain that doesn't really forget stuff. He'd lost most of his family back home and had
Mhm.
wiped it before he left the planet. So as far as he was aware,
Oh,
his family was still back at home. He'd
oh
been
no.
writing he'd been writing missives back at home and couldn't fully remember why. He assumed that his mother was angry at him for joining the Mechanicus and leaving them. Um,
Oh
and he couldn't quite figure
no.
out what was going on. And there was this one storyline. Basically, my const is always Quent's, and my GM does not let me live it down. His brother turned up. The ship that he was on passed a Mechanicus ship. So the two brothers were the last survivors.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and I think it was some of the storyline of his brother trying to figure out, okay, why does he not know about this? What am I missing on this? And it was kind of I guess, the following acceptance of I can't keep running from my problems.
Hmm.
I think was one of my favorite storylines to completely bring the mood down for a second.
Nah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. But then also there's just silly shit. I enjoy the silly shit so much.
So much silly shit. Well,
Oh, it's one of my favorite things.
This last question for you is not silly per se, but it could be a thinker. What advice would you give Altair?
Ooh. I think across all forms is how to word it. I think that you are yourself for a reason. Keep going with that and don't lose it.
Ooh, I like
Which
that.
is vague, but I think
And when you're dealing with multiple iterations of a person that has evolved over time and time again, it's like things get vague or generalized, but
yeah,
it doesn't make it less applicable, I don't think.
I think so too. I need to remember to hydrate. Sorry.
It's time to say a brief farewell to Magpie as we take a few minutes to talk to our other special guest, Altair, played by Magpie.
Dun, dun,
Hello,
dun.
Altair. How are you today?
Uh, all right. Perhaps a little confused, but all right.
Do you remember everything you've been through, like across these settings and universes? Or do I need to
So
like wave my magic wand?
you have a magic wand. Um,
So to
I mean,
speak.
if you must, it sounds a little heretical, but yes, fine, sure, yes.
Okay. Uh and I pull out a magic wand and I tap his head, and he has been granted temporary omniscience.
Immediate stress. So much stress crosses across that
Just
man's eyes.
when you've suddenly been granted all the knowledge.
Oh,
All right. So I have some questions for you, Altair.
okay. Is this going to take long? I
Let's just say where you are now, it won't take any time at all.
unnerving, but all right.
So for the more blood-sucking side of you, how did you become a vampire?
That's an easy one, as any good romance story starts. I was bitten by a lover. Well, it was 1980. I had very much fallen in love with somebody. Her name was Thea Lovelace. She was very much in the same scene as I was in Berlin, and she decided that I was worthy of the same gift that she possessed. Simplistic, really.
How did you feel about becoming a vampire?
Hmm. So, potential breach here, but I had been more or less asking for it for quite some time. It was something of a relief, something of a change, something my mother definitely didn't want me to do, so that made it even more worthwhile to do. Happy about it, I think, to begin with. I hadn't fully thought of the consequences, but who thinks of many things when they're in their 30s?
In your 30s?
Yes.
Hmm, I'll put a pin in that. We may come back to it, we may not. You've been part of several coteries now. Anyone you particularly liked or disliked?
Hmm. I mean, they all have their merits. Some, I think, wanted me dead, with good reason, albeit. Some of them were a little bit more like home. More recently, I'd say I had more of a family, though. The first one, rightly, I think, wanted me dead, but they came together. The second, oh, one of them wanted me dead. There's a theme here, actually, of people wanting me dead, but I suppose that's within the norm. The last one, nobody wanted me dead. So I'd say that's an improvement.
I think I would agree. Which of the vampire worlds or settings would you say has been your favorite?
Hmm. I think Cardiff has ended up the most fun. We spent quite some time there. We caused quite a few problems. Don't mess with the Fae. As much as they tell you not to mess with the Fae, definitely don't mess with them in their own habitats. That was something of a problem. Yes, I think Cardiff. By the sea. I enjoy the sea.
Lovely. And so, how then did you find yourself in the Imperium?
Rumination. I'm not entirely certain the Imperium was where I was destined to end up, but I do enjoy it. Or at least I enjoy the company that I found there. Is that satisfactory?
Can you elaborate?
Hmm. I thought that I was going to stay stuck in one place for a very long time. When that didn't happen, then there was a lot of adjustments to do. There was a lot of changes to happen and a lot of, I guess, lessons to be learned. Luckily, I have some very patient people around me, also quite a lot of fools, but that's besides the point. They seem to know how to get me back online.
And what are your feelings about this particular world that you're in now? This we have a term for it where I'm from. It's called science fiction, but for you, it's very much reality. Um, what is this? What is this world of space and guns and factions? What does it all mean to you?
Hmm. I suppose it's the norm, really. Yes, I mean, sometimes we find things that are a little bit strange, that are a little bit out of the regular, I think would be the best way to describe it. I mean, the starships that we've come across recently have been something else. They're larger than anything I'd seen before. I mean, obviously the Mechanicus is rather large, but other than that, the Imperial ships are something else. Yes, we recently had a run-in with some Xenos technology that I wasn't quite fond of. The research into that one is ongoing at the moment. You know, I actually found out that there are certain cell structures within this, and he just rattles on for like a solid 20 minutes on this. I'm not smart enough to know what he's found, but Altair is.
20 minutes later.
like So yes, and that's why I believe that we could potentially use Xenos armor in our own weapons making. But that's besides the point.
Well, you seem incredibly knowledgeable and very ingrained in this world that you have been placed into. Would you rather go back to being a vampire, or would you prefer where you are now?
Hmm. Answer, I think I like here better.
Why so?
I'm not entirely certain how, oh, what's the word? Easy it is to keep up finding blood on a night to night basis. There's a lot of things that can kill you, actually, when you're a vampire. From my understanding, sunlight is not preferable. We have to stay inside. Some of us are folly to standard human customs that would be able to send us away. Acting as steel is much easier.
All right, that's understandable. I can respect that. So, being in a sort of scary doesn't seem like a very adequate word to describe it, but in kind of a horrific uh, scene in most of these worlds that you've been in, you you deal with oddities and esoteric horrors and things. What's the scariest thing that you have encountered in your
Hmm.
adventures, so to speak?
Comedic answer would be my colleague's ability to eat so much corpse starch in one sitting. Sensible answer would potentially be hmm, we were somewhat, to put it in ubiquitous terms, screwed over by an Astartes who had been masquerading as Raven Guard for the entirety of our adventure, turned out not to be exactly as he seemed. That one did not end well.
Oh. What about that was your particularly least favorite uh aspect?
I think at the point where I got stabbed,
Oh my. Okay, yeah,
that wasn't
that
particularly fun.
that I can understand, that I can get with. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be stabbed either.
No. Rumination, it was rather painful.
I don't even need to ruminate just to assume it would be painful. Yeah. Uh, Throughout everything that you've done, experienced, been through, what is your proudest moment to date?
To go for the more blood-sucking side, it was in the weeks after coming to meet my childer. Heather is sunlight, and not in the painful way, but in the sort of way when you know it's cold outside and you know you need to warm your bones. She is that. She brings light to everything she does, and I have an immense amount of pride in her for that.
Showing a sweeter side of yourself. I can respect that. I do
And don't
respect
get
it,
used to
in
it.
fact. Oh, I won't. I'm not expecting to see much of it. Another question then. If you could change anything at all and have it stick, what would it be? It can be big or small, now, then, here, there, anything really.
Hmm. Contemplation. I think it would be that at the end of everything there is something peaceful. I would have it so that there is a certainty that for the four, perhaps five of us, there's somewhere that we can go that there is a quiet patch of land, somewhere with a fine vista, and settle. I don't want death to be the ending. I want it to be peace.
I love that. And I think a lot of
Thank
people
you.
would agree with that sentiment.
It's humanity at its baseline, I think.
Let's do some rapid fire questions. Favorite color?
Black.
Favorite animal?
Rabbit.
Favorite music?
Susie and the Banshees.
Favorite vampire family?
I'm pushing him aside and answering this one as Magpie. It would have to be from Interview with a Vampire. Back in. I love that entire show! Altair doesn't get to answer that one.
Okay. Favorite faction?
I think the Guard have always been easiest to get along with.
Okay. What's a power you wish you had?
Foresight.
Okay. Swords, guns, or fangs?
Axes.
Axes. Axes. Yeah, I should have seen that coming. Here's my favorite. And Magpie will understand uh, why I was laughing at the beginning of this whole interview. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? Or if we want to flavor it towards our earlier conversation, would you rather fight one horse-sized goose or 100 goose-sized horses?
Horse-sized goose.
Okay. Can you explain why?
I feel like you could tame it and ride it into battle.
You know what? Fair. Okay. Last question, Altair. And I have granted you omniscience more or less to help with this question in particular. What advice would you give your player Magpie?
Oh, I've never been good at advice. Stop trying to live for other people. You don't get as long as I do.
Short, to the point. I like it.
They don't tend to listen unless you're very short and to the point.
That's so true. So true with so many. So, we're going to transition back to Magpie. Thank you, Altair, so much. I'll take your omniscience back. Yoink.
Oh, no, I was enjoying that.
And
Are
then
we
he
back
gets
again?
slurped
Oh, we're
back
here again.
into
Boing. He's gone.
I was enjoying that.
Give it back. Oh no. I assumed, like stuff like in like TV or like cartoons where someone gets like fired out of like a cannon or something, you just hear the voice going, ah. Just that. Oh no.
Well, thank you so much, Magpie and Altair, for joining me on the show. And thanks so much, every one of you all, for listening to the podcast. The links to all of Magpie stuff, our own socials, and everything else will be in the episode description. If you want to support professional questers, the best thing you can do is to leave a good review and spread the word. Tell your aunts and uncles, your mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, guy down the street, all the people. All the lonely people. I'm not going to sing it because I don't want to get copyright striked.
Oh no.
If you'd like, you can also donate through Ko-Fi. A donation to, or of, believe it or not, a donation of even $1 gets you access to all of the very good bonus content and rewards, including bloopers, extra interviews, and character art done by yours truly. That's me. You can also follow us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, and join our Discord community. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I hope your adventures are always good ones. Everybody say bye!
Bye.